Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy. This is going to be a review of the Cooler Master MM731, and if we know one thing about Cooler Master, it is that they never fail in any regard. They just release the perfect mouse every time, first batch, and that is what we love about them. So reliable. God bless Cooler Master, like and sub. But yeah, this is the MM731, which is a wireless mouse. I just happen to be using it via wired mode because that is how you actually have to use this mouse. You don't have to, but if you do not want to experience motion delay, as of today, September 26th, you have to use the mouse via wired mode. They've released a new firmware a couple of days ago, and it just didn't address the issue at all, which is what we love to see. And Cooler Master is, of course, using a 3370 in this mouse, so it's not the sensor that is the issue, it is just their implementation of it. Also, I just got a nice little slam click there when I dropped the mouse, so I guess that's something to note as well. This mouse is using optical switches. I'll get into that later, but I just want to talk about how this mouse feels, because the first thing I noticed out of the box was just like this weird floaty feeling. At first I thought it was just the high sensor position, but then I tweeted out, I will show the tweet. And after tweeting this, I quickly realized that everybody who has the mouse is experiencing these issues. I was redirected towards Reddit. So anybody who has made a review of this mouse and hasn't talked about this just hasn't been able to feel it. And you can form whatever opinion based on that if you want. Okay, slam clicking is really fucking annoying. I'm happy that I mentioned that. So at this point, there is just no reason to buy the MM731. You're paying more money than you would for the MM730, which is still too expensive. $80 for the wired version, when a Cooler Master mouse has never been that much in the past. Whatever. It's not like they really made up for it with the quality. There is tons of post-travel on my side buttons. They're very loose, lots of rattle. So the quality's kind of poor. There is a bit of creaking on my unit. I am putting a lot of pressure, but that's always a nice sound for the mouse to make. But getting back to the point I was making, since the wireless mode is not properly optimized and we are in the year 2021 and you have to use the wireless mouse wired to have the connection feel on par with other like wired or wireless mice, I just don't see a point in buying it. The 58 gram weight, the wired version MM730 is only 48 grams. So all of the issues that the wireless version has, also my scroll wheel is very heavy. I don't know if it's designed to be like this, but it reminds me of one time when I installed a paracord and the wires were interfering with the scroll wheel, so it was really heavy. I'm not sure if you can see these wheel like jumping around. It's sort of clearly loose, also pretty small. The clicks are LK Optical V2s, which apparently are the same exact thing as Razer Opticals. They feel very similar, just of course with the different implementation. A good optical switch. I have this weird issue here, my left click. It's like fucking squeaking, and then my right click, absolutely fine. So sort of squeaky left click, absolute classic from Cooler Master. Nice one, nice one. With the 731 being 10 grams heavier than the wired version, and that weight mostly being due to the battery, you can see that it is a back heavy mouse, and you can feel this in hand. I am also not a fan of the shape. It feels like it's made for a hand that's smaller than mine. I'll talk about the shape later, but I just want to make it clear that aside from the side flexing, which you would just never put that much pressure in game, there are just numerous quality issues on this mouse that make me feel like it's unrefined, unpolished, like rushed out. And of course, the biggest proof of that is the whole motion delay situation. And I'll just show Reddit right now. I will link these threads. I'm not going to fully go through them, but if you just search up MM731 on Reddit, there is a lot to read. A Reddit post about my tweet got 500 upvotes, so it's clear that many people are experiencing these issues, and it's just unacceptable. And this is just proof that I'm on the most up-to-date firmware and I am still experiencing the issues. It's hard to demonstrate on camera, but when I am controlling my mouse, at least on this 390 hertz display in games like Fortnite, any aim trainer, it was just clear as day. And then you switch it to wired mode, and it is just a snappy and nearly perfect input. And I'm not sure how easy it will be to notice on a 60 FPS clip, but right once I switch over to the wireless mode, it just feels sluggish and a far worse input. So just for that reason, I cannot recommend this mouse whatsoever until it is fixed. And I'm sure that they can force out or not, they shouldn't force anything, but they can eventually do a firmware update that will make the wireless feel as good as wired, and then the mouse can be in the discussion of something you might consider. But especially given the crap quality on my unit, it's not something that I'm going to be recommending much. The one thing I would say that the mouse really does get right is the clicks. Of course, I mentioned that weird squeaky click issue before, but that is only a sound thing. The tactile response and the latency is not affected by that. And these switches feel good in-game for spamming. And there's no difference between the click latency, at least nothing I can notice, between wired and wireless, while the sensor motion delay, there is, of course, the difference. The sensor position is very high up, so if you wrist aim especially, the input will be a bit faster, it will feel faster, and so maybe that combined with DPI deviation will make the input lag effects a bit less noticeable for some people, but I don't want to give them an excuse. And of course, if you are a casual gamer and you're just okay with some input lag, the mouse should not be sold like that, especially when they advertise their fucking light speed or whatever variation of that isn't copyrighted technology, and then the mouse just doesn't have that whatsoever. I get to pay more money for a worse version, more back-heavy version of the wired mouse. Awesome. And this is a Cooler Master Batch 1 product, so I get to feel like a special beta tester because I can just note out the slew of QC issues that are apparent on my copy. So shape's the last thing to really talk about, and this is definitely a smaller ergo. It's not made for hands that are as big as mine, in my opinion, 20 by 11. It doesn't feel that natural for claw grip, especially when I have to hit the side buttons while gripping the mouse. If you do have smaller hands, I would say just under 20 by 10 centimeters, this could be a good mouse for palm grip especially. I'm not sure about claw grip. Maybe if you get the right amount of palm contact, but for my hand size, that just seems impossible. And I would never really recommend a mouse like this for fingertip. Just not big on ergos for fingertip, and you can feel the back heaviness if you grip it like this far up. So all in all, I do not recommend it at all. I will update like the description and probably a pinned comment of this video if the firmware ever gets fixed, but I'm not going to hold off on the review waiting on Cooler Master to get their shit together on an already released product. I honestly can't remember a mouse launch this bad. Like, this is probably worse than the original Model O with the terrible cables and quality, and that is saying something. Can't say much about the battery life. It's using USB-C, God bless Cooler Master. Well, the battery hasn't died yet, so I guess I can say that. It has Bluetooth as well, which is just such an epic feature. And that's going to be all for the review. There were other issues I didn't mention, like the newest firmware update originally breaking wireless functionality if you did the update in wired mode, which happened to me. And there's just other stuff, but at the end of the day, this mouse sucks. And I will be the one to say it. I do not care that Cooler Master will never send me a review unit at any point in my life. That's kind of just a trade-off. So yeah, that's going to be all for a review. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and there's links to Reddit threads if you want a more concrete explanation on the motion delay stuff. But yeah, peace. What a mouse.